What the heck is Formula One?
Pole position, strategy,
yachts and parties,
safety car, Ferrari.
beautiful corners.
Oh, right, okay. There's a car in front of you. Try and overtake it.
Oh, I hate you so much.
Hello, you fools. Welcome back to another Formula Fools podcast. I'm David, your self-appointed expert, and with me is Skin, who is the local fool on this podcast.
Hello.
How are you going, Skin?
Yeah, good. No
Nice.
complaints.
Nice jacket still.
Thank you.
Not
Still
solid?
getting the cost per wear down.
I've noticed it's been on the last 3 Chocks podcasts.
Yep, I think it will continue.
Go Skin. From pit lane antics to racing riddles, we're here to make you laugh, question your sanity, and question your sanity. I always miss the and. Sorry, Skin.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Sit back, buckle up. It's time for Formula Fools. This week we're talking about DRS.
Yep.
The drag reduction system.
Oh, that was my first question.
Sorry. We'll go back. We'll cut all of that. Okay. This week we're talking about DRS.
Dave, what's DRS?
It's the drag reduction system, Skin.
Thank you.
Smooth. So the DRS is a driver controlled device that allows the driver of whichever car is using it to push a button, opens a flap on the rear wing, and then it reduces the drag on the rear of the car, which means more air can flow through the rear wing and create less downforce so they can glide through the air better, is a very basic understanding of what DRS is.
Okay. Yeah. Talk me through it. So there's a flap on the wing of the car.
Yep. So on the rear wing, you've got, it kind of sits kind of like that. And you've got one piece that is completely static. And then you'll kind of notice like a weird little notch in the middle of the rear wing. And that's just got a piston or some kind of hydraulic system in it that will lift a flap like that. And then it obviously creates the 85 millimeter gap between that static piece and the top of the bottom, I suppose, of the DRS flap. And then air can flow through the middle of them too.
Right. Okay. So wait. So when it's not lifted,
yep,
the air just flows.
It hits both.
Hits it. Air goes up.
Pushes the car down. Yep.
Right. Then that thing opens up. Air goes less up through the thing.
Yep.
So there's less force from the air pushing it down. Is that right? It's just gliding nicely over the car a bit.
Yeah.
A bit more.
So it's supposed to reduce the aerodynamic effect on the rear of the car by up to 30% is what they're kind of aiming for, is a very good DRS system. So you would lose 30% of downforce on the rear end of your car.
Okay.
So the whole point of that is the less downforce that is pushing the car downwards means you've got less drag. It means, you want the cars to run low and things like that, but you've got other aerodynamic parts that are still sucking the car down to the ground. But in a straight line, it means you can gain something like 15 to 20 kilometers an hour extra.
Right.
By just opening your DRS flap. So it's a very useful tool going down straights.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, because obviously something that everyone sort of you hear a lot about in Formula One cars is that downforce is a great thing. You want this suction thing. You want the car almost on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Why introduce something that reverses that, or is that downforce really only that useful to get around corners quickly without skidding out, basically? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's the main thing about downforce, is that like superbikes and hypercars and things like that in other forms of motorsport can match top speeds. IndyCar as well can match top speeds or be greater top speeds than an F1 car in a straight line. F1 really dominates in fast speed, low speed corners, being able to really use aerodynamics to make a car grip the track better, perform better under putting more pressure through the tires so they can perform better and just really cutting through the air cleaner through corners. Right. That's what makes an F1 car the fastest form of motorsport in the world. Okay. That's why we achieve the lap times we do. It's not because we have the biggest engines or the fastest engines or stripped back aerodynamics. The reason we do it though is because, it was introduced in 2011, something like that, I think. DRS was, yeah. Yep. And it was introduced to enhance overtaking. So we were noticing that with cars getting into stupid aerodynamics in the late noughties, 2006, 7, 8, 9, we were seeing really crazy winglets and wings on the cars. You've got this double front wing with 2 fucking things. You've got all these little intricate details down the sides with these extra flaps and things that are sticking up and everything else. So the amount of dirty air that was coming off the back of the cars meant that it was really hard to follow and it was really hard to overtake on a lot of tracks. So they introduced DRS to promote overtaking and to make it slightly easier. So if you're within a second of the car ahead, you can use your DRS. It gives you more straight line speed to attack the car in front of you.
Right.
So that's why it was introduced.
Is that essentially just because the races were less entertaining to watch if people weren't overtaking? Is that all it was about?
Yeah. Races were less entertaining to watch. Qualifying was becoming more important than the races. So we were seeing people, Ferrari especially, were trying to target more one lap pace instead of making a good round race car. So they could just, get out in front, create dirty air off the back of their car and then kind of screw the competitors because they just had fast one lap pace. And yeah, it just made it very difficult to follow and overtake any other cars.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they introduced DRS with the hope that it would improve overtaking. And it's quite a controversial subject. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people say it's artificial overtaking, it's artificial moves, and there was a very big debate in the teens, I guess, whatever you would call that era.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very big debate there with what is a genuine overtake and what is a DRS assisted overtake. I think that has kind of faded away a little bit now, and people are just kind of used to DRS being a part of the sport.
Right.
But yeah, it's quite controversial in terms of overtaking. Right. And some purists will tell you it's not real overtaking, it's not real racing.
Okay.
Fuck off. It's an engineering advancement of what we used to have, and I love it.
You love it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's just engineering at its finest. We found that just by opening a flap by 85 millimeters, we can improve the straight line speed and reduce the downforce on a straight, which then it will enhance or encourage faster lap times.
Yeah, that's nice. Surely, I don't think that's the controversial bit. Like, surely everyone likes that. But if you have this thing that makes the car go faster, it can improve a lap time.
Yeah.
Like, why would there be a rule that says you can use it? Only the person overtaking can use it. Like, you don't get the opportunity to defend your position, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, surely the idea of racing is you want to know what car can go faster. Like, you make the best car possible, you make the fastest car possible, and you see who can drive it fastest or which engineering team can make it go slightly faster. It's like having a rule that gives someone an advantage and prevents someone from defending their position.
Yeah.
Like it's surely it's almost not racing.
But okay. The reason the reason I don't agree with that or even look at that is because if you're the car in front, you've already got an advantage. You can close the door, you can create a car with bad dirty air, coming off of the back of your car to ruin that car behind you's advantage, or even like to make it not an equal playing field. So if there's two cars battling, none of them have DRS because it's, let's say it's raining or something, they are equal, you would think. But the car ahead is always going to have an advantage because he's ahead. He can take an easier racing line. He can defend earlier, or they can have dirty air coming off the back of their car to ruin the car attacking. It can ruin their chances.
Okay, all right. Another question: why 85 millimeters for the gap?
I don't know. It used to be 50 when they first brought it out. I remember that.
Right. Okay. Has anything else? So it was introduced in 2011. Has anything else sort of changed, or has it been a fairly consistent staple since 2011? Yeah,
it's been pretty much the same. We've got some things this year with the corners. So as you look at the car, the kind of corners of the flap that moves up and down can kind of have a little flick on the end of the corners now. I don't really know why. I think that was introduced for this season. But yeah, that's been, there's only been a few minor changes like that. And the actual shape of the rear wing, like going into the 2021 regs, the shape of the rear wing changed from like a square to kind of a angled, kind of rounded edged rear wing. So the shape of it has changed ever so slightly, but the actual mechanism itself hasn't changed really at all since 2011.
And the rules around it, firstly, we probably haven't explained what they are. So
yeah, we'll get into
what
that.
What are they, and have they changed at all? Or
so I don't think they've really changed. The main thing that we'll see change, which is track to track specific, and over the years they'll change it. They'll change like the distances of the DRS zone. So if the DRS zone is, let's say, 800 meters down the main straight, in Australia last year. This year they could have changed it to 700 meters or 750 meters or something like that.
Okay.
So that stuff changes year on year depending on how effective we're seeing the DRS is in current regulations. So with new regs coming out next year, we may see them extend some DRS zones because they may not know the effectiveness for the first few races. And then as we get through the season, or for the 26 season, we may see the DRS zones be shorter or be longer, or, you know, whatever. They might play around with it a little bit more in the next couple of seasons because of new regs. The rules though on how you're allowed to use your DRS is there is an activation zone. So there's a line that the drivers will cross. If you are within a second of the car ahead, whether it's a car you're attacking or even a back marker, you will get either a beep in your ear or something lights up on your steering wheel. I can't remember how they do it nowadays. I'm sure it used to be a beep in the ear. And then when you go over, so that's the activation line. When you then go over the DRS line that has the big polystyrene DRS boards at the side of the track, you can then press the button and it'll open the flap. When you get to the end of the straight, there is a DRS like end line where it has to be closed by a certain point. There's 3 ways you can deactivate your DRS. The first is you press the button yourself. The second is you fully lift off the throttle. So there's no throttle trace. The DRS will close on its own, or you hit the brakes and then the DRS will close. If you open it too early, if you keep it open too late, you can be penalized for it. If you open it during a straight or a corner or whatever, where you're not allowed to open it, you will be black flagged or disqualified from the race. So yeah, there's quite a lot of rules around the DRS.
Okay. So yeah, right. So it's not like that. It's not an automated system that lets you open it when certain things happen. It's literally just the driver presses a button. So if he fucks it up, then he's in strife, basically.
Yeah.
Have you seen people get penalised or disqualified for using it incorrectly?
I've never seen anyone, not during a race session, but during free practice sessions, we've seen people be black flagged or told to return back to the pits because a DRS flap has been stuck open. So they've opened it down a straight and then they've hit the brakes or whatever, and the mechanism, the like mechanical mechanism is broken and it just physically won't close. So they've been told to return to the pits and to sort it out, basically. Mm-hmm. It's one of them things where it's such a basic component on the car that, like, if there is a mechanical problem with it, then there's probably a bigger problem at play. Like, you've installed the entire system wrong, or like you've got a hydraulic leak, or, you know, there's something more serious than we're just not pushing the button to close it or whatever. Like, there's so many things in place where they just wouldn't get it wrong.
Yeah, okay.
But it does happen sometimes.
Okay.
That's the other thing as well. Drivers can use DRS as much as they want during the DRS zones, during free practice and qualifying.
You don't, yeah. You obviously don't have to be a second behind.
No.
Okay.
No. Because the point of that then is that everyone can just use it as much as possible in qualifying to try and get the fastest lap possible. Moving on, we have got some notable DRS moments for you. And I'm going to kick us off with the Spanish Grand Prix. I cannot remember what year this was. I didn't write down the year. I think it was 2022. Not 100%. Max Verstappen's DRS just wasn't working. So he was pressing the button. It wasn't opening, or it might have a couple of times opened and closed straight away. So it was like flapping up and then back down like that. So yeah, he was having no luck during the Spanish Grand Prix, and he was getting really irritated on the radio, as you can imagine, Max. So one of the quotes that I read on an article was, "We can't even make the fucking DRS work," while he was screaming at GP, his engineer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You reckon, like recently, 2022, when he was quite good at, and Red Bull were quite good at making cars.
Yeah.
He's annoyed that they can't.
I think they were having a string of problems where they were just having all of these like small pit stop problems or like electrical problems on the car. And they were really basic things that were going wrong. Right. And they just won their first, like he just won his first championship in 21. And it was Red Bull's first since like 2013 or 14. And it was all of a sudden like the team that were the best in, or looked the best in 21, in 22 were all of a sudden having all these weird little like basic problems, to be honest. And yeah, Max was getting quite frustrated by the Spanish Grand Prix because this was just another one of them problems.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is quite common. Again, I think we would see this more in free practice sessions, usually by the race or qualifying. They've got this sorted, but yeah, the DRS opening, closing, or just not opening at all is quite a common thing to see pre-season free practices, but this was quite weird to see it during a race, and it was funny that it was to Max. Would have been better on Lewis.
Okay, all right. Another example I found and wanted to ask you about, Disc, I think also 2022 in Bahrain, being the local fool, I wasn't watching F1 at the time, but I'm led to believe that Max and Leclerc were battling it out for a position, presumably the first one. Otherwise it wouldn't have been that exciting, I guess. So they're sort of overtaking each other, going back and forth for a little while. And then after the race, Leclerc said, I've got his quote here. So Leclerc said, I was trying to be as clever as possible using the DRS as much as possible. So I was trying to brake early into turn 1 just to be behind him at the DRS detection.
Yep.
Which seems crazy to me. Like, is that a common strategy? Do people do that? Surely the only advantage you're getting when you get to the DRS detection zone is making up the time that you lost earlier by giving up the place and braking early. No?
Yeah, 100%. That's literally it.
That seems so weird.
Well, so in this race specifically, Max was chasing Leclerc down, and Max had the faster car. So I think he had slightly better tires as well, but race car wise, he was the faster car. And the laps were ticking down, and it was like, you've got to pretty much use any defense you can. Bahrain has quite a unique two DRS zones back to back. So they've got down the main straight, and then you've got kind of like turn 1. I think it's kind of like turn 1, 2. Maybe there's 3. It's kind of like a weird chicane kind of. It's not a chicane, but it's kind of a weird like combination of corners. And then it's straight into another straight line. So they have DRS and then a few like very tight corners where you don't really lose or gain a shit ton of time. Detection point is on the exit of that last corner, and then another DRS zone down that back straight, like the next straight afterwards. So what Leclerc was doing is, because he knew Max had the faster car, if he defended into turn 1, Max would have still been behind at the second detection point, so would have just overtaken him into the next DRS zone, and then there's not another DRS zone immediately after that, and then he would have pulled enough of a gap where Leclerc wouldn't have been able to attack him on the next lap or by the next DRS zone, because he may have dropped a full second, or even just 0.6, 0.7 would have put him out of reach of then actually being able to attack Max. So what he was doing was he would let Max, he would kind of not slow down, but he would let Max catch him in the DRS into turn 1. And then in the braking zone, he would brake slightly earlier, get kind of a deeper entry, tighter apex hit, so he could get on the throttle earlier to stay as close to Max as humanly possible. And then in that second DRS zone, he would then use the DRS to then re-overtake Max to then just do it all over again the next lap. So he was using it as a way of defending his lead, even though for 2 or 3 corners, he would lose his lead. So it's a very weird strategy. And this is what I was talking about earlier. There's a few tracks where you can do this. I know Jeddah is another one where people would do this into the last corner or penultimate corner or something like that. People would lose their position so that they would have it down the main straight. And it's a very weird way of going racing, but we see it quite often.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah.
And interesting. All right. And then, sorry, clarifying question that I probably should have asked earlier when we were talking about how DRS works and all the rules around it. So that detection point, it's just at that, is it just at that point where it matters if you're 1 second behind the car in front of you or not? It's not like as you're going down. No. It's not like they're constantly checking. Because like if you're watching the race on the TV, you can always see if they're a second or not. But it's not like you always have to be 1 second behind, or they're checking at multiple points throughout the DRS zone or anything. It's just you hit that point. Are you 1 second? So
there's the trackers that go across the track that are I think it's every like 250 meters or something like that. And they're just sensors that will update the live timings for us to say how far they are. There is just one that is more accurate at that line, that is more of a exactly like it's kind of a pinpoint kind of scanner thing. Don't really know what any of that means, but it's a more accurate reading of the time gap. So if it's literally like 1.001 behind, you won't get the beep to tell you the DRS is active. If you're 0.999, then you will get the beep to tell you can use your DRS. So it's that line, how close to that person are you?
Okay.
So that's why we're talking like if Max had got ahead in the second DRS zone, by the time they get back around to the first DRS zone, Leclerc may have been 0.8 behind. So he still has DRS, but it's not, you need to be on that track. You need to be like 4 or 5 tenths when you start the DRS, for the DRS to actually help you make an overtake, 0.8 will bring you closer, but it won't give you enough. And so then you could assume that within 2-3 laps, Max would have more than 1 second in that situation, would be able to pull away.
Gotcha.
I've then written down Marcus Ericsson 2018 Italian Grand Prix at Monza. I think this was a free practice or a qualifying session. It wasn't in the race, I'm pretty sure. Marcus Ericsson's car failed to close the DRS, or the DRS opened randomly at the end of the straight when it wasn't supposed to. So there was an issue with the DRS mechanics, and it failed as he was going into the braking zone in turn 1 at Monza, which is one of the harshest braking zones on the F1 calendar. Like, that main straight is one of the fastest we see in all of F1. And as we saw in free practice with Jack Doohan, going into a corner is not great when you've got your DRS open. So I want to show you a video of what happened to Marcus Ericsson when his DRS flap did not close.
Oh, that's a big crash as well. And that's the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson. Red flagged the session. Session suspended. And Paul, there was absolutely nothing he could do. The car just went on under braking, just stepped out from underneath him.
When you have spectacular ones like that, the energy dissipated over a long distance with all the bits and pieces flying off as well. It's not the sudden stop. They're the ones that really hurt. So whilst it looks spectacular, as long as nothing comes into the cockpit to get you.
The mechanics are looking at the DRS on Leclerc's car. I think we could be looking at a DRS failure. The rear wing flap has not reattached, has not gone down as it should do as soon as Ericsson touched the brake.
You okay? No idea what happened there. Okay, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So obviously that is quite a hectic situation to be in. And as you could see from the like zoom in of the DRS flap, the moment he touched the brakes, the car just pitched to the left.
Crikey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, obviously Marcus Ericsson was okay and carried on racing that season, but very nasty crash.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Which obviously moves us on to the Jack Doohan crash from this weekend's Japanese free practice.
Yes.
What do you reckon, Skin?
I reckon he crashed. Yeah, no. So, well, Jack Doohan's looked different to that one in that he was like that was weird because he was like, I get that he was coming into a braking zone for a corner, but he was still driving in a straight line. Like he hadn't even really started turning yet. It was just as soon as he started braking.
Brakes, yeah. Exactly.
Whereas Doohan looked like he was going around the corner, sort of turning.
Yeah.
And just skid it out, really, I suppose. How, like, what went wrong there? Explain what would have gone wrong there for Doohan's crash.
So with Jack, he hasn't come out and publicly said this yet, but the rumors are that he, in the simulator, was doing this on their sim, and as they were going into the corner, they could then keep the DRS flap open, gain more, like carry more speed into that corner, and then brake later into turn like 1-2 at Japan. Now, the problem with that is if that's the case, then there is something wrong with their simulator because their real world data versus their simulator data does not correlate, which is probably why Jack Doohan is not commenting on it, because they don't want to let everyone know that their sim is shit or doesn't work. But basically, in Japan, you don't brake or you don't necessarily need to lift off the throttle into turn 1 because it's a slightly cambered corner going with the turn. So it's like cambered like left to right. As you turn in, you can still be flat out on the throttle. So we were seeing on Jack Doohan's previous lap, he did keep the DRS open, but he lifted off the throttle a little bit, which then closed the DRS like on his turn in. And we were seeing other cars turning in at full speed and then hitting the brakes, but they would manually turn the DRS off before they would turn in.
Wait, surely the DRS zone isn't around a turn?
Because it's kind of still classed as straight. I don't know where the detection point is in Japan. Okay. It was really hard to see because the moment his car lost control, he lifted off the throttle and his DRS flap closed. So the off-board camera shot of him as he starts to spin, his DRS flap is closed. So I was like, well, it's not a DRS issue. And then they showed like the rear of the car footage and could show it was open as he turned in. But yeah, it's just the moment he's turned in, his tires are trying to lean kind of like that onto the tarmac. And as they're trying to lean, the car is designed to get all of this extra downforce from the rear wing, which isn't there anymore. So he's basically putting way too much stress and pressure into the leaning tires because he's carrying all of this extra speed. And then his rear tires have just let go, jumped up off the ground. Like they've stopped gripping, and he's then just skidded and lost full control. So it's like 100% Jack's fault. Like he should have closed that DRS.
Sorry, I still feel like it's not entirely Jack Doohan's fault. Surely the DRS zone shouldn't go around corners.
Yeah, well, okay, let's check it. Japan track DRS. That's turn 1.
Now I'm confused. That's turn 1.
Yeah, as in that this is where he crashed.
Yeah.
So that's in the DRS zone ends there. So yeah, he should not have his DRS.
So the zone's So doesn't this image mean the zone's correct? The zone ends at the end of the straight.
Yeah.
And so his DRS was open when it shouldn't have been.
Shouldn't have been, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm back to thinking it's Jack Doohan's fault.
Yeah, because he didn't close it.
Yeah. Why?
Well, yeah. But then it's also just like, why would they practice out on the sim? That's what is confusing me now, because I'm now like, why would they practice that on the sim?
Yeah, okay.
Because I know like around 130R, which is this corner here, because this is flat out and it's kind of it's a slight turn, but it's not a full turn, even though it looks a lot more full on there than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they keep the DRS open for that. Right. But that's because you're barely turning your wheel. Whereas for this one, it's quite a flick in. So I don't know. This could be an old image and they could have extended it so you can have it around that turn. But
okay, interesting.
I don't see why they would if it's going to result in a crash like this. But yeah, I would say it's 100% Jack Doohan's fault. Like he should have closed his DRS before turning that aggressively into a corner.
Fair enough. And then, I guess that was my follow-up question. So Jack has surely driven in F2 and 3 and things in order to get here. What happens in F2 and 3? Do they have DRS? Like, why would he not be, like, if that's just a mistake on his behalf, why would he not be all over?
Well, and that's the question, isn't it? Like, these athletes are supposed to be the best racing drivers in the world. And the fact that he's made such a rookie mistake or such an amateur mistake, because they do have it in F2 and they would use it. It wouldn't be as effective. You may not see a significant crash like this in Formula 2 because they don't carry the same speeds and they don't rely on downforce like we do in F1 as much. But it should be ingrained into him. And surely training camps and free practice and everything else should have taught you at this point to close your DRS. Mm-hmm. It seems quite basic. I think it plays into a lot of the questions around Jack Doohan's future and where he's going to be and if he should still be on the F1 grid. It's difficult. It could be a pressure thing. He may have just forgotten. Or if it is true that they're trying it in the sim and this is something they've been working on at the factory, then it begs the question of like, was this an Alpine strategy that they were trying? I know Gasly didn't try it at all going into that corner, but I just don't know. There's a lot of question marks around this, and the fact no one will comment on it is making it a lot more like secretive. Yeah. I think Jack's a great driver. I think this is just a basic rookie mistake, and I hope that he can get on top of these because this could end his career. Yeah. But I don't want that to happen.
Cutthroat. Like even this week, like Lawson and Tsunoda swapping seats and stuff. It's just so cutthroat with these with young guys that have only had like 2 or 3 races.
Yeah. Well, Jack's career was under question before he stepped foot in the car. Yeah. In January, it was like, oh, Colapinto's been hired. You're going to get sacked. It's like, I've not even driven a lap.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Surely you want to like give people a good like half a season or something to have a look at them,
or a full season. Like, how about Red Bull just tries that?
Yeah.
Anyway, Skin. Well, that wraps up another lap at the Formula Fools podcast. We hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we did. It's now your turn to join the Fools family by connecting with us on social media. We are at Formula Fools on Facebook and at Formula_Fools on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Beautiful. Look at us go. You can also leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. Spotify, Apple, they help a great deal.
They do. We said we were going to read a review, so let me just quickly grab one here for you, Skin.
Woohoo.
We don't have any new ones. You bastards. Get your homework done. I was like, we're going to read a new review for you next week from Apple Podcasts. No new reviews.
Okay.
We are just flying up the charts. Obviously, new listeners every week.
Come on.
Thank you for joining us at Formula Fools, where every turn is a chance for a good laugh. We'll see you next time.